G'day, my fellow media collectors. I'm Troy, and today I am here to present my case in the defense of a superhero movie from 2010. Today, I put to you, my friends, viewers, and members of the jury, that this movie is not guilty of the crimes on cinema you have been probably made to believe. But this movie is in fact better than most critics give it credit for. Now, before I get ahead of myself, by no means is this movie completely innocent. God, no. But the slanderous reviews that are out there, I feel, do not honestly reflect what this movie is and its portrayal as the worst superhero movie out there is unjust. Trust me, I have seen a lot worse than this. So today, I present to you my case on
This here's my story.
this is a live-action western slash superhero movie that comes in at 81 minutes and was released into cinemas on the 18th of June 2010. Then it was later released on DVD and Blu-ray on the 19th of October 2010 with no 4K HD release as of this video. The film is written by Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor, with it being directed by Jimmy Hayward. The film was a commercial failure, having only grossed $11 million worldwide against a budget of $47 million, due to it receiving generally negative reviews from critics. The film begins with Jonah Hex, a Confederate soldier who refuses an order to burn down a hospital and kills in self-defense one of his sons of his commanding officer, Quentin Turnbull, resulting in Turnbull taking revenge for his son's death by killing Hex's family and branding Hex's face. Shortly after, Turnbull fakes his death in a hotel fire, and Hex, unable to seek revenge, he becomes a bounty hunter. During this time, Turnbull, with a group of rebel stalwarts, secretly hatch a plan to bring the Union to its knees by stealing components of an experimental weapon of mass destruction, which sets the wheels in motion for US President Grant to enlist Hex to stop Turnbull's evil plans. While the nation readies to celebrate Independence Day, can Jonah Hex put a stop to Turnbull's plans and get revenge for the death of his family?
Dick-kicking revenge!
So when it comes to the story and the script, it does struggle to strike a balance between the gritty backdrop of the
Wild Wild West
and some of the supernatural elements of the source material, while trying to bring them together into a cohesive narrative. I think in part this is due to the troubled production of the movie, with reports that the script was rewritten numerous times and a lot of creative differences between the filmmakers and the studio, resulting in a script that it was aimed to go a darker with more adult themes, actually being cut back for more an accessible film to a wider audience. Now, due to the cuts from the studio to make this film more PG-13 friendly, this resulted in the script's lack of focus, underdeveloped characters, and a disjointed narrative, creating aspects of the film that are not sufficiently explained or integrated into the narrative, leaving audiences really more confused than intrigued at times. Due to the film's short runtime, the movie not only feels rushed, but it actually is rushed in many ways, leaving key plot points underdeveloped and hindering the overall storytelling, which really prevents this film from sort of rising above the glimpses of potential you see to become, well, actually more of a missed opportunity than a classic. I think with more time to tell a more cohesive narrative and develop the characters' backstories and motivations in the movie, the audience could connect a lot better with the characters in this movie, and you would have had such a better movie that would be more middle of the range than what it actually was. And with that, look, I'm going to give it a generous 14 out of 30.
Always do like when you finally show up.
This film was an original story and not a direct adaptation of any specific comic book storylines that I could find. But the film really does incorporate elements from various Jonah Hex comics storylines over the years, which combine sort of elements of the Western genre with some supernatural themes. But while this comic often has had strange and supernatural situations in them, the film really leaned heavy into these supernatural elements, deviating from more of the traditional Western themes found in the source material, which drew a lot of mixed reactions from hardcore fans of Jonah Hex, like for instance his ability to communicate with the dead, which was actually a really major departure from the more grounded Western genre fans were really used to. But for me, I actually didn't mind these supernatural elements, as it just added another layer to the character. But because it was cut down to a PG-13 movie, it really didn't get time to explore those themes to their fullest extent.
He needed more time to finish his work.
Now, if we look at the cast list here, there are a lot of names here, all great actors in their own right, and some big names, which, as one would think, you would have a surefire hit on your hands with these caliber of actors. But as most times happens, a poor script can let the actors and the movie down in the end. But first off is Josh Brolin as Jonah Hex. He was, for me, God, he was almost downright perfect for this role. He nailed it, and I would have loved to have seen more movies of him as that character, just with a better script. Now next we have Megan Fox as Lila Black. Well, she was just her usual Megan Fox self, just there as eye candy, and that's it. Now, as far as our villains go, you have John Malkovich as Quentin Turnbull. As he was okay, nothing special, just your classic John Malkovich. But Michael Fassbender as Burke, wow, he was giving it his all. He was literally chewing up the scenery in every chance he got to be on screen. And before I forget one thing, can someone please explain to me why an Irishman in the 1800s has New Zealand Maori tattoos all over his face? That doesn't make any sense.
I'm just as confused by this as you.
And a little surprise for me, an old Dukes of Hazzard fan, was to see Tom Wopat show up as Colonel Slocum. And I spotted him straight away and did the whole thing. It was great to see him, even if he was only there for a couple of minutes. Anyway, the cast was great, but it was just let down by a mediocre script. And with this, I am going to give it a 12 out of 20.
When we get this strung up.
Future's bright.
Right, we have the case here, and it's not too bad. Look, I don't mind it. It's very, I mean, this was the kind of the movie poster, if I'm not mistaken. It's not too bad. You get an idea of who's in it. It doesn't really pop so much, as it's more just serviceable, I suppose. But still, it's not too bad. And if we look at the side, I just had to check that. Yeah, just the logo. It does blend in a little bit, unless you're really looking for it. And on the back, it's your very stock standard around those early Blu-ray times. Very similar setup that you see a lot of them have. Not a great deal on the back there. As you can see, the disc, we've got just a logo, but it's color, which is always good. And you know I like a good color disc, so that's good to see. Overall, this is very much one of your basic mass-produced ones back from the early days of Blu-ray, before they started getting a bit fancier or even more low budget, shall we say. This was pretty the stock standards. I've got a lot of these very similar style. So for that, I'm going to probably give it average run of the mill, and I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
I'll collect my $100 bounty on him and be on my way.
That there, Mr. Hicks, was more of a limited time offer.
Okay, so we get 3 special features in this, and they include some deleted scenes, the inside story to Jonah Hex, and a picture-in-picture commentary. Look, not a great deal here, but at least there is something. Now, the deleted scenes, look, they don't really add anything, and you can kind of see why these were cut. The inside story of Jonah Hex, that was really good actually, and I enjoyed it, and I got to learn a lot more about the character than I really knew, which was really worth the watch. And the commentary, well, look, I didn't have time to sit and watch the movie again, but if you're into your commentaries, it's got one. Anyway, as I say, definitely check out the Jonah Hex featurette. If you have it, is definitely worth the watch. But with that, it doesn't have a great deal, and a couple of them are only average. So look, I'm going to give it a score of 4 out of 10.
Tell me, what's it like to go through life with a face like that?
As I bring up the Rotten Tomatoes scorecard, as you can see, the critics came in at 12%, and the audience was not much better at 20%. Now, I do feel these reviews are unfair. It just seemed like a bit of a pile-on effect where other reviewers don't want to say that it was okay, so they say the same thing as everyone else, and that is, it's the worst superhero film out there. And I find that to be a bit of a cop-out, actually, as, trust me, there is a far worse movies out there than this one. I would go as far to say as there are some movies probably here on Rotten Tomatoes that are rated higher than this movie that are probably worse than this movie. Look, at least IMDb had it at a more reasonable 4.7 out of 10, which I think is closer to where the real score should be. But anyway, as it is, we're going to round it out, and we're going to get a massive score of 2 out of 10.
You know what that feels like?
Don't do this!
Feels like this.
So, why did I review this movie? Well, after reviewing a Justice League Warworld in my last video, I was kind of bummed at how they did Jonah Hex in that movie. So I thought, I haven't watched the Jonah Hex live action movie, so why not give it a look and see what they did with him in that? And I got to say, look, honestly, I didn't mind it. I like the character as a whole, and I think Josh Brolin did a fantastic job of being Jonah Hex. Hell, I would watch another Jonah Hex movie in a heartbeat with him in it. I would just hope that it's written better. It had more of that harder edge to it. Look, in my defense of this movie, it's not as bad as everyone says it is. Sure, there's some things about it that are awful, I'll agree, but it wasn't like this was a tough watch. And the tag of being one of the worst superhero movies just irks me. Trust me, on this channel alone, I've reviewed what can be considered some of the worst movies out there. I think if you just change a couple of things, you would have a reasonable movie. Like, go more to the MA15 or higher from some more adult content. Ditch Megan Fox, as her baggage as a bad actress did hurt this film, as reviewers were probably writing this movie off before seeing it because she was in it. And have the movie runtime be at least another 30 minutes longer to explain more of the context and backstory so you can understand the movie better. Do that and you have a much better movie that would be more enjoyable to watch. Look, overall, it was watchable. The action scenes were fun, but it does have its fair share of flaws. And with that, I rest my case on this movie that it's not as bad as what everyone says it is. And that's why I'm going to give it an 11 out of 20.
But then that old bastard played one final trick on me and died in a hotel fire.
Now, if we look at collectability, I'm going to give this as a 1 out of 5, as unless you're a bit of a hardcore collector like myself, you're probably not really going to be that interested. if you're a DC fan, sure, you probably want it because it's a DC comic. But overall, just for your general run-of-the-mill collectors, I probably wouldn't bother. But for your more hardcore collectors like myself, I would grab it. But it's still probably the other one. I wouldn't worry too much. And availability, well, it almost was a 1, but it's definitely a 2. It is as common as Buggery on eBay. There are 1,000 copies out there that you can buy, but I'm not sure on your retail outlets if you can still pick it up there, but definitely on the secondhand markets there are a ton, so it won't be too hard to find. Now, your average price, you are looking at somewhere between the massive price of $4 to $14 for a DVD, and if you're going to go Blu-ray, you're looking at somewhere between $6 to $23. And as of this video, as usual, there's nothing for 4K HD. Now, for the final score, we get a grand total of 43 out of 100. Well, there you have it. This is the score the movie should have got. It's not great, but it's still a fun movie to watch if you look past just a couple of things. So there it is. There's my case for why this is definitely not the worst superhero movie out there. Trust me.
Dirt likes dead, dead likes dirt. Simple as that.
Hey, so if you like this video and you want to see some more of my reviews, why don't you click that one there? Well, maybe you want to see some of my collection updates. Got you covered too. Why don't you click that one there? And of course, don't forget to do the most important thing. Throw me a like and don't forget to hit that subscription button on the way out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.